Hello, everyone, and welcome to OneLiners, a series centered around key influencers and performance marketing space. My name is Joey Liner of Liner Connections, and I am really excited to be joined by my good friend Geoffrey Phillips today. Jeffrey, how you doing today?
I'm good, my man. Very good. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming on. I've really enjoyed watching your journey the last, couple years. You and I didn't really cross paths earlier in our careers, probably because I hadn't done a lot within the health and Medicare space until I really joined DMS as Chief Revenue Officer. But I had not really known of you up until the last couple of years and just I saw you at some shows and saw you just on LinkedIn and just the what I love really what drew me to you, which is what I try to share with the universe out there too, is just good positive energy, the ability to go out and um, make great connections. It's all our business is all about relationships and all about trust and all about
100%.
just being purely honest with everybody and doing things the right way. And I just felt anytime I've seen you post and just you share your story and being vulnerable, I think that's super cool. And I wanted to have you on to share your journey with us today on one-liners.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I love watching your journey as well. I think we're very parallel in what we do, and you're a big positive motivator when I announced that I was going out on my own, and so I wanted to thank you for that as well.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that throughout the episode as we talk about your
Absolutely.
your journey and how that's all transpired for you. But yeah, if you can, what I like to do is because obviously we're also busy at shows and we're busy on our meetings and we just have to obviously get to the business a lot of times. But I'd love for you to share like, a little bit about yourself. Like where are you from? What kind of got you into the workforce just out of the gate? It seems like you've gravitated towards business development sales. So early on in your career, early on in Jeffrey's career, like how did you get into the business?
I'm originally from the Panhandle of Florida. My father was in the Air Force. We lived everywhere. Ended up at Fairchild Air Force Base in Spokane, Washington. Went to high school there, college at North Idaho College, right across the border in Idaho. That's the whole story. Idaho, the 90s. Woo! Yeah, we won't go there. That'd be a whole episode. Um, so I wrestled my whole life, my high school life and my college career. And then I didn't really know what I was going to do. And I returned to Fort Walton Beach, Florida. And I had a friend named Michael who was wasn't walking around, but was traveling around, selling cleaner door to door. And he kept saying, "Man, you should do this. You should do this." And I'm like, that doesn't sound very fun. Finally, he talked me into it. So we hopped on the road. We were working for a gentleman named Denver Price. We were in San Bernardino, California. Brings back memories. And I went out in a van on my first time, and I'll never forget. I was so nervous, and there was four of us in a group, and they were training. There was two who, my friend and another guy who were veterans at it, and so they knocked doors and talked to people, and no one sold. And the guy who was with me, who was also a newbie, he was very cocky, and I'm a competitive person by nature, but he was very cocky. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm going to sell this." And so he went up on his first door or his second door because we each knocked the door and no one sold nothing. He went on his next door and he sold like a bottle of cleaner, I think it was. I forgot what the measurements were. And he came back and was looking at my face and he's like, "You're gonna get skunked." And it was in that moment of him saying and looking at me like that, that I knew I was going to be the best salesman anyone had ever seen. Because in my mind, I was like, "Oh, yeah." So I walked up to the next door and for some reason, I don't know why I thought it. I was like, "I'm not going to sell a bottle cleaner. I'm going to sell a case." Knocked on the door. The lady answered. I talked to her, and I didn't even talk to her about cleaner. I forgot what I said to her, but we didn't talk about cleaner for like 10 minutes. We just had a conversation. And at the end, she was like, "So what do you have?" And I was like, "I have a case of cleaner for you that's going to get everything from that She had Kool-Aid stain in her rug that I could see in there. So I went and got the middle of the Kool-Aid out, but I didn't take it all out. I just got the middle of it out. And then I got the oil stain. I got the middle of the oil stain driveway out, but I didn't take it all out. She was like, "Why are you not taking it all out?" It's like, "Well, that you're gonna buy the cleaner and take the rest of it out. That's why." And she was like, "You know what? I am." And she bought a case of cleaner for me right there. And I didn't when the guys and I met up because they went on. I was there with them for so long. They went on. But when we all met back up, she or the guy who had sold the bottle next to me, I was like, "I sold her a case of cleaner," and he looked at me like, "What?" And then from then on, I was just like, "Don, I have fun. I'm a people person." And so sales and talking to people and really providing them with something that they need, even if they're not very sure that they need it, like showing that value just became something that I think it's just a gift that I was given from God, and I'm
Yeah,
able
and
to do that.
amen. Like I think it's a gift. It is. I always tell folks like when they ask about sales and business development, it's like it is a gift. It's an art, to be able to get into understanding the consumer behavior. And I love that you did door to door because you have to understand how we work in direct to consumer. We work on consumer behavior, right? We have to, but you at the beginning stages of your career, you had to understand what motivated them, what got them excited, how you talked about, you built something, you sold the first package with somebody for 10 minutes that you didn't even focus on the product, right? So it's pretty cool.
And I
And
never
I
do.
think, yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I really never do, whether it's LinkedIn or whatever. I'm going to build a relationship first. And usually when I start talking business, the other person brings the business up. It's never me. "Hey, I have this," or "I'm doing that." That's not how I operate. And I would also like to say one thing. I know technology and everything is out here, and everybody, there's a lot of people in the sales world, and people don't have to actually see another person to sell something, and things happen just through email and those things. But I think if everyone in the sales world had to go knock on the door for their first two sales before they could use any other application, we would see 80% of the sales workforce disappear because most people are not going to knock on that door and have to talk to someone face to face. They don't even want to get on phones now.
Right.
Imagine having to see someone face to face.
Oh,
Imagine having to see
it's
someone face
great.
to face.
I mean,
But I also think it would it would really galvanize people who were really wanting to be in sales to show them what that interaction would actually have to look like. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I really believe that.
no, absolutely. And 99% of the time getting rejected hurts, but it's a learning experience every time, right? It's like you gotta go through the motions and like door to door, you gotta appreciate that. So I
Well,
agree, man.
yeah.
I'm glad that you shared that with us. So one of the cool things that I love about being performance marketing the last 20, I'm old. I've been doing this now for 22 years. So I would say it's been really cool to watch people grow within a company and evolve and build their way up. So I got to know because I'm good friends with the guys at Rank. How did you start? How did you get connected from, so take us from the door-to-door sales to Rank. And it's awesome to
Okay.
see how you evolved at Rank, right? You worked your way up. I'm assuming you earned that. So I'd love to find out like how you got into performance marketing, how you found these guys, and I'm sure there's a good story there.
Oh, it's a story. So I ended up getting married. I stayed up in Washington State. I got married. I was selling cars, and I sold 19 to 20 cars a week, or excuse me, a month. I love selling cars. There's no way back then you could have told me this is in 2013-ish that I would ever stop selling cars. I would have wanted to fight you like right then. Because it's like, man, I'm selling 20 cars a month. What do you mean I'm never going to sell cars? Get out of here. I have a friend in the industry. His name's Adam Wild. He's my best friend. And he was at Bella Point at the time,
Mhm.
working his way from being a fronter up to the director of marketing. My wife and I, we had moved back to Spokane for a little bit, and then she didn't like Spokane, so she wanted to go back to Omac, Washington, where my ex-wife and my children are right now. And she wanted to go back into nursing. So I said, "Okay, you go back into nursing. I'll stay with the kids. My cubs are everything, and I can't have other people watching my kids. I think it's the only thing that gives me anxiety, like literal anxiety. And just leave my babies alone. So I'll watch my babies. Something will come up." Well, Adam happened to be the second or third largest buyer of U65 calls before ACA and all that stuff was around at the time, and Rank was one of his publishers. He was at a conference, Contact IO in San Francisco in 2014, January-ish, and Neil and Johan from Rank, Neil Rubin and Johan Perez. Shout out to you guys. I
Yes.
love you guys. Um, they were at the conference and they said, "Hey Adam, do you know everyone? Do you know any good sales guys?" And he was like, "Oh, hold on," and he dialed my phone number, gave the phone to Johan, and Johan called me and he was like, "Hey, I got your number from Adam. I'm here with him right now. He says you're a pretty good salesman." And to preface a little bit right before that conversation with Johan, Adam and I talk like girls. I mean, we talk like girls every day. It's gross, really, how much we do. But in him growing from fronter to director of marketing, um, I was actually going to school and not knowing that I was going to school. I was hearing his calls he would be on and billables and this and call times and spreadsheets, which I hate, but I have a great director of operations who loves them. So that works. And so I was hearing all of this for like 6 or 7 years while I was selling cars. And so when Johan asked me if if I could sell calls, I was like, yeah, I think I can, but there'd be a couple of stipulations. And he was like, okay, well, what are those? I said, I don't want your sales process. Because I came from the car world, butterfly cards, boom, everybody had their process. I just went out and was Jeff on the car lot, right? I felt like the process held me down only because I just use my natural who I am to go out and talk to people and be very real with them. And I feel like people dive too much into sales processes. Yes, there has to be a process, but more than anything, people can buy. Americans have money. Companies have money. They can buy from whoever they want. They buy from people they like. They buy from people they trust. They buy from people they respect. They buy from people who they're referred to. And so I told him, and I'll go get clients and you pay me for it. He was like, okay, well, let's see if you can go get some clients. So that's how it started with me at Rank. They hired me 100% commission. And so I got very lucky because I tell people all the time, I didn't know what the word affiliate meant for almost 4 years in the industry. For me, my idea of going and getting clients was I need to go find my best friend at every insurance company in America because he bought calls, which is how I got into the industry. So that became my goal is to find Adam Wild at every insurance company I could who dealt in the verticals that Ring dealt in. And that's kind of how I got hooked up with Rank and how it got started. As far as my growth there, about 7 months in, I had brought in some pretty good stuff. I used LinkedIn way back. I think LinkedIn has become the secret got out about LinkedIn, right? But at the time I was starting, I added 200 people a day. They actually used to give a message. I don't know if they give it now that says you've reached your commercial limit of connection requests and you can't add anybody else if some people join it. And I really became a studier of how people reacted on LinkedIn, what the best times were to contact a C-suite executive. And I start from, I'm head of the snake guy. I want to talk to the CEO of the company, whether or not we ever do business. Because water flows downhill, and when you make a relationship at that C-suite level, it's much more productive in terms of being able to build a relationship that has some bandwidth. The operations manager has no idea what my relationship with the CEO is, but when the CEO says, "Hey, we're going to work with Jeff for this and this," they're very courteous in terms of how the relationship is built, and I think that bodes well for whoever you're working for or whoever you're working with. Because now, instead of working at Rank, I work with a number of different vendors. And the thing I love is that Rank is one of my clients now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm gonna talk about that in a second, but it's nice to know your evolution going from, door-to-door sales, hustle and grind, car sales, hustle and grind, and then 100% commission. That is awesome. There's no better way to bet on yourself and to prove to any employer is to say you're willing to do 100% commission, right? Because if you want, like everybody today, and again, talking about the modern day sales in our space and just in general, I think is they're spoiled. There's just the reality of they have a lot of things that are handed to them, or they get compensation that's tied to managing accounts versus growing accounts. And there's, hunters versus farmers, and so forth. And I think um, it's beautiful to see how you evolved. And Rank was like, I love those guys. They're great guys. But I would say really it's because of a lot
Yeah.
of folks like you that helped them build out to where they are now, right? Because you talk about 2014, they were probably just at the early stages of trying to build a company, and now they're one of the larger players in the space. And credit to you and other key players that helped build that business. And it's really cool. It's really cool. And we're going to talk about this now it's like you still have a great relationship with them. You
Mhm.
graduated at some point. You guys felt like it was time for you to move on, and then you now have a relationship with them, and that's the beauty of no burnt bridges. Everybody, you help them outgrow the business. They help you build up your portfolio as well, and it's great to see that you guys are on great terms, and it's just awesome. So I love that.
Absolutely. And that's not to say there weren't bumps in the road for
Sure,
sure.
of course.
But Johan had Rank Media, the agency side, so sites and all those things, but they were just really getting going with their pay per call side when I came on. Um, and I was only salesman there for a few years, but I was
Yes.
very motivated. And I had the opportunity because Johan allowed me to go create a process to bring in sales rather than putting me in a box and saying, we want it done this way. He just allowed me to be me, and he kind of built infrastructure around me in order to create this foundation of sales over there. I will say, too, I worked with Neil Rubin every day. He's the managing partner there. We're Black Man and Rubin. Shout out to Brian Appel. He came up with that slogan. I love that guy.
Yes.
um, Batman and Robin, Black Man and Ruben. It was awesome. Um,
Awesome.
but they allowed me to be who I am, and they trusted me that I was going to represent them correctly. And we had, you know, how things developed was crazy. I didn't go to a conference. I was hired at Rank February 1st, 2016. I didn't go to a conference for 2.5 years. I never shook Johan or Neil's hand for 2 years and 8 months.
Yeah.
They hired me, and
Yep.
2 years and 8 months later, I met them in person.
That's pure
But we
inside
built,
sales, baby. That's pure inside sales.
yeah, you know, but we grew it up. And so it was them taking a chance and putting some trust into
Yeah.
me, and myself putting some trust into them and learning. I think I had a little bit of a head start because, again, my best friend was one of the top three buyers in the country, though he made me get it. He was like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? I don't have to be motivated, but we motivate each other. We always play,
Good.
devil's advocate with each other. We just do those types of things. He's been my friend for 30 years. Um,
That's awesome.
and having kind of a preset as to who to go after kind of kept me in that direct buyer insurance agency world, which really boded well for the rest of my career where I'm at now. I think people hire me as a consultant because they know I have those direct insurance agency relationships. And if I don't have that a particular one, I'll go out and get it. And so I think all of that was just more school and preparing me for where I am now.
Yeah, you know the inner workings of the product. You know how to be able to speak to that well with your clients and publishers, and obviously how the magic happens, right? So let's talk about
Yes.
that. So you left Rank. You had it's a great run there. You had great experience. You learned a lot. By the way, too, Brian. Shout out to Brian. We're both Baltimore boys, so we're both big diehard Baltimore Ravens fans. Unfortunately, our hearts were broken again this year, but it is what it is.
I'll
But
be up there
that's my
actually
boy.
next week. I'll be up there next week.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Good. Good. And so you left Rank and went to Quantum for a year, and then you had this epiphany to start your own consulting business, right? And at that there was this defining moment for me midway through 2022 where I wanted to start Liner Connections. I love you and I've talked about this off recording, obviously, just in general, like the last times we've been together about how you went out and started your own business, which is amazing. I love that. I love to watch and witness that. So tell us about how you went from quantum to getting to the confidence to go out. It's scary to go, but you bet on yourself your whole career. That's the part
A
of it. You've
hundred
bet on yourself
percent.
your whole career. So tell us
It
about that.
wasn't as much. Thank you, but it wasn't as much of a epiphany for me as it was um, the last recourse. There are some issues that happened at a conference, and we won't get into that. But I was put in a position where I have, responsibilities and money still has to come in. But I couldn't work with who I was working with anymore. And I love Leo and Doc Bowman and Natalie over there. I love them. But there's just some stuff that came up. And so one day I was there, and one day I wasn't. And I said, you know what? That day I said, okay, I've brought in multi-million dollars for two different companies. I've signed the largest carriers in the country. I can do this for myself, right? And so really I made a test post. Really, to me, it was a test post. I said, hey, I've decided that I'm starting my own consulting firm. I got my LLC, but I put a post out. I'm starting my own consulting firm, and I'm going to specialize in the business of bringing direct insurance agencies to my clients. And like 4 hours later, I had, I don't know, probably 35, 40 emails of people like, hey, bro, you're not living it. What did you, hey, come here, come here, come here. And then it just became an avalanche. Really, it really caught me by surprise. Though a lot of people in my life, like Adam, was like, bro, this is exactly what was going to happen. I like to, I like to operate from a hope for the best, but prepare for the worst scenario, under promise over deliver, same concept. And so within a week of me leaving QDM, I had like some serious offers from people who want to be my clients. And as I've grown over this year, it'll be a year. My business license for GSP Enterprises LLC is dated February 29th, 2024. So it became official on leap day in a leap year, which kind of symbolizes my life, and so I always say that we took the leap.
Look,
We
we
took the
we
leap
all
on
face
leap day.
adversity, it's part of the reality of the world, but you took that and you took that and challenge and you basically just took the opportunity, made it an opportunity, right? Because it's just a reality of, there's going to be bumps in the road and you addressed it head on. Sounds like you've crossed the 1 year mark when they say small businesses, right? Like that's where most small businesses fail. They can't make it after a year. You've now done that, and now you've started up another business that's more focused on lead generation, right? So
Three, actually. There's
three.
three total. Yes,
So tell
sir.
us, yeah, tell us
So
about that evolution because it's a lot, right? So you have your consulting business, but then there's what are the other two businesses?
So there's GSP Enterprises LLC. I consult bringing in insurance agencies to my publisher clients. That's one part of GSP. Then I also consult for Arthur Barlow at Compass Insurance, bringing in agents and agencies. Shout out to Arthur, my man, my dude. I love that guy. He is, for me, the best person I've ever met in business, for sure. So I also consult for Compass, and then I consult for the ACA Health Summit, which we'll speak about bringing in sponsorship and attendees for there. And then I just picked up another conference consulting job where there's a BPO conference that's going to happen called Nexus. It's going to happen June 15th in San Antonio, Texas. All of the Caribbean BPOs will be there. My job is to bring in sponsors and attendees for that too. So that's the GSP portion of my consulting. Genoy, and the name Genoy comes, people always ask me, where'd you get Genoy? Well, that was supposed to be my actual name. If you call my mom right now and
Oh,
said, where's Geoffrey at? She would be like, I don't know where Noy is. He's probably like, that's what she calls me to this day. And so when I was thinking of starting my marketing agency, I was like, you know what? I'm going to name it what my mom was actually going to name me. So that's where the name Genoy comes from. I started that on the pretense that I could have a platform because I could solve for vendors. I could have a platform where I would be able to provide calls and data to the agencies or other agencies who I bought into those clients already. So that was the pretense for Genoa marketing. However, the consultancy was blowing up so fast, I had to hire someone. So I hired Michelle, who I've known for 30 years. We were friends back after high school in Spokane. So that's how I know her. And she has a distinguished career. She was with Ben Bridge Jewelers and did a bunch there. And so she kind of crossed into another field. And
Nice.
now she's just really, really taking some traction over here. So I had to kind of put my platform on hold because consulting was blowing up. And in the middle of that, I got an opportunity with an EPC in the solar side to do for commercial solar, both here in the States and internationally. And so that's kind of blown up. So then I started Genoa Energy. And so if you were to go to Genoa.com, you'll see both my GSP page there and my Genoa Energy page there. And so those are kind of three. And then the fourth that is coming is Sakai Insurance, which are my kiddos' names. When I actually have my brokerage and everything up, and that's in the midst of happening right now. So that's kind of the four different things that I have going, but it's a lot in a year.
Yeah, I would say so. That's pretty cool, man. I it's good to have different variety is like the spice of life, right? Like, and it's awesome that you reunited with Michelle because you have to work with people that you care about, you trust, you have passion, you're excited to go to work with them every day. I know you had that, with the previous businesses that you worked with before you started your own as well. But that's it. Like culture is key and knowing what you guys can build together. And it's really cool to see you be able to help. Sounds like doing the consulting on the conference side. Let's talk about that because I feel like you're really good at documenting your experiences at shows. You really you share your thoughts. You're really open about that to everyone, and then you're also just like present, right? You're very active in the actual content of the shows. People don't realize how much goes into the preparation and content. The guys like Mike Furry, Lead Generation World, Contact.io,
Yes.
LeadsCon, Affiliate Summit. There's a lot of content and so I saw you earlier this year just talk about how the ACA summit was evolving and growing. And ACA's had a roller coaster ride the last couple of years. It's really a lot of people don't there's a stereotype out there of just, there was a lot of shady marketing or practices, but let's be honest, think about how many Americans have really benefited from this product. It's not going anywhere. The Trump administration already said that they can't just kick it to the curb, right? Like they may have an alternative at some point, but it's not a high priority item, let's be honest. And so tell us what's been going down in the ACA world. And then like what's the benefit of the summit? Is that to help do things the right way and get the good actors together?
Exactly. So the ACA Health Summit, it was created by Arthur Barlow for that exact reason, to get the bad actors out of the way. The number one issue uh, was the AOR switching. There was people would get a policy, all of a sudden someone else would get a hold of it and file it. And there were just so many switching of policies to where insurance companies would pay for marketing. You're paying for a phone call, you're writing a policy off that call, you're sending it into the carrier, and then you're not getting paid from the carrier because someone switched the AOR around and they're getting paid for it. But this insurance company's already spent the money on marketing. Just a ton of all of that going on. So the ACA Summit was built to bring all the good actors together and to get rid of the bad. And Arthur really became the leading force in the country for spearheading that. And I think what you've seen happen over the last year and a half has had a lot to do with, the ACA Summit has a biweekly call with CMS. Arthur has a couple of calls with CMS
Yes.
every 2 weeks. And so a lot of what we were trying and did do was spearhead initiatives to get those problems front and center and have them addressed. I think you've seen a lot happen in terms of that, but especially over this last year. And And it's really just cleaning up the mud that was ACA, and getting it in the right place and the right perspective, and letting people know if you're generating fraud creatives, if you're doing anything fraudulent in the space, the people who work alongside you are going to hold you accountable. We want to hold people accountable so the federal government doesn't have to come in and hold people accountable, and it turns into Medicare, right?
Yes.
um, and just the government scrutiny and control over it. And so that's what the ACA Summit was created to do. We have a coalition, and I invite anyone out there. And this goes from quoting platforms to vendors to agencies. If you work inside the ACA space, you're more than welcome to join our coalition. It always works better when we have a united front. And so our the I would say what we're looking at now, the goal is to make the ACA Summit the premier ACA conference in the country. That's going to happen when it becomes the first standalone conference for ACA ever to be held. We're looking tentatively at August 26th. Don't hold me to that. It could be something different, but to be held in Nashville, Tennessee. We're going to get things out of Vegas for the standalone, and we're going to hold it in Nashville. And I think people are pretty happy. The more people I spoke with about it, the more people who are like, "Woo, love Nashville! It gets weight. It's fresh. There's a
Yes.
lot to do." And so that's kind of where it's at. But shout out again to Arthur Marlowe. This was his baby. This is his, his through his guidance and his thought process, and really rallying people around it. It's become a major thing. And shout out to Jay Weintraub too, Medicarians.
Yeah.
We're partner conferences right now, and I think
That's
people saw
great.
at the Fountain Blue last year that it was a great thing to have, and it's going to be really good this year. It's March. So ACA Health Summit Medicarians will be at the Caesars Forum March 31st through April 2nd of this year. And then we have an ACA Stakeholders Summit that we hold in Salt Lake City, where Compass is based. And that's going to be September 4th. And I'm still looking for other attendees and sponsors for that. But the brand awareness and just being part of something from the ground floor as it grows, it's a special thing. And there's only so many people who will be allowed to do that. So I think it's going to be a win-win for the summit and lots of companies.
That's awesome. And look, Vegas, it's you got to go, but it's like, man, I love when there's opportunities to get out of Vegas for conferences. So and look,
Yes.
Jay is the pioneer. Jay founded LeadsCon back in 2008, and he's a very
Mm-hmm.
good friend, dear friend. I'm glad that you guys affiliated with Medicarians to start this up, and ultimately you graduate to go on your own. That's great. I
I
think
went
that's
to
awesome.
I sorry about that. Go ahead,
Yeah.
man.
No,
Oh,
no, I think it's awesome. It's great.
I was attending. So before Jay bought Medicarians, it was the National Medicare Summit with Jesse Sloan in
Hmm.
Chicago. That's when I was in my third or fourth year at Rank when I first started going to that. So I've seen what has been able to happen for it going from the National Medicare Summit to Jay buying it, rebranding it, making it Medicarians, and now it's the premier Medicare conference on the planet. And so just to be able to watch some of these people and how they take an idea and build it into reality, like for me, I love that. I try to do that within my own life and my own companies, taking my idea and making it something that is a reality and replicable. And just being that, I say that I'm blessed all the time. I'm very deep in my faith, and I really feel that I just have been blessed to be able to sit back and watch and learn from so many people doing incredible things that you would just never, you know, someone walking down the street just would be like, man, that's way too much to think. They wouldn't even think. But someone else takes 6 months and that thought becomes reality. And to watch that unfold in so many different ways in my career has been, it's been a blessing.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Where do you think so going back just because I want to actually harp back on to what you talked about in regards to the ACA products. I think I don't want to let that go and under recognized or underachieved for what you guys have been able to accomplish, I think, as an industry. And just like, do you feel like the changes that have evolved from these CMS meetings have worked? And like, specifically like what is it, the conference call, you have to bring in the ACA agent to make sure preventing the AOR switching, right? To
Yes,
make sure the
the
consumer
three-way
knows what.
call.
Yep. Is that work? And then also talk about too, there's a sentiment in the space, and this is hopefully I think you're in the right camp here, but there's some people that now that there's Trump's in office, they think, oh, Dr. Oz is going to come in and we can go back to doing whatever we want. And, is that's just horrible. So tell me
Woo! No, no,
tell me
no.
what you're hearing out there, and
Okay.
just make sure is
I
the progress working? Yeah.
The progress is working. AOR switching is down almost 87%. There's a little bit of stuff happening, but people are having to work really hard to to create fraud. There are some people who are pretending to be an insurance agency, you know.
Right.
Um, uh, there's a couple of little things happening on that side, but for the most part, AOR switching is gone. Boom, it's not happening. And what that does is it allows the agency to know what the lifetime value of the policy is going to be because the policy is actually sticking on the books and isn't getting taken over here. They can calculate what their actual CPAs are because the policies are staying on the books. Really, what's happening is what I feel, in my opinion, should have happened a while ago from the start, right? This should have been going on the whole time. It took some push to get it done, and now it's been done. And I think you're going to see some other things happen in terms of where the ACA product is. I think right now it's going to continue to grow. There's some other things happening where if certain things happen, you may see another 15 to 20 million people be eligible for ACA through their group stuff, with what's happening in the background. And I won't get too deep into that, but there's some things happening on that side too. You also have what's happened with lawsuits and companies, and I won't bring up anything specific, but there's a lot, as we all know, out there that's kind of changed the landscape of who the big dogs in the ACA space are, who are writing the most policies. There's a lot of magnifying glasses on people now, and they're having to do the right thing, which you should, integrity is doing the right thing when no one's watching, and there shouldn't have to be a magnifying glass on you in order for you to do those things, depending on how you're built and how you build your company. So I think with all of that happening, we're kind of seeing a reshuffling from a vendor perspective. There's new blood as to who's taking calls, where volume is going, those type of things. You don't have the same names up at, and again, I won't say those names, but you don't have the same names up at the top of the industry, right? That we always hear. And so it's kind of evening the playing field all the way around. And then you have a lot of stuff happening. You have a lot of vendors um, who are actually vendors and agencies now. So when we were coming in, Rank didn't have an insurance agency. Dave McMahon at We Call didn't have an insurance agency. Now Dave has an awesome insurance agency on the ACA side, Advantage Health. And so you're seeing the evolution of those type of things happen within the ACA space too. So to answer your question, I think the product's always going to be good. There's way too many people with pre-existing conditions who need health care, and that's what ACA protects. Besides the subsidy, you can't be kicked off of your insurance, or the insurance company's not going to pay because you had a pre-existing condition. Well, my grandma needs to live. Okay, bro. So that's really what all this is about. It's about people and life, and we get caught up in business, but in the end it's about life, man, and it's about giving people the best possible life you can possibly have without the politics and the banter back and forth. So it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. There may be some shifts of other things that are available. They may add to it. They're not taking away for it. The American public isn't going to have it because it created a solution to a huge problem, which was pre-existing conditions. That was the biggest issue. People are getting kicked off. And they created the subsidy. So now people who don't make that much money can still have insurance. And it's just the way it should be. We're the greatest country in America, and we should take care of our people. And so, and that's what it does. And in a nutshell, that's kind of where my thoughts on that subject is.
Yeah, you bring up a great point too about truly understanding the consumer need and journey, right? And going through the marketing experience. I think that's the one thing I learned specifically too about, especially the last decade, is our industry in general. Well, it's just, not just insurance, but all the verticals. The monetization got out of hand of consumer, it became more about revenue, zeros and ones, and profit, and less understanding about the consumer experience. And CMS and FCC came in and said, "You guys, this is ridiculous." And we all were like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, 1 to 1, this is crazy." But it obviously proved a drastic point that, we got to treat consumers better. We have to understand the situation, like you talked about grandma, right? It's like you have to feel like you're going through that journey yourself. And I think we all learned, hopefully, that thankfully the Insurance Marketing Coalition got the 1-to-1 consent thrown out. And hopefully now we can take some of the things that we've learned over the last year and a half of trying to transform some of our businesses through CMS and through the FCC process, that we will do better by the consumer, and that's great. We don't have to go to one to
Absolutely.
one on a lot of
Well,
lead gen stuff, but
there's a lot of agencies though who are still demanding one on
right,
one. They don't care if
right,
it's a law or not. Like, because I think what happened is, and I'm not blaming this on any part of the industry, but when you can middleman and make money, a lot of money,
mhm,
right? Yeah, the middleman isn't so concerned about this end or that end.
right.
They're getting their piece of the pie right here. Well, when you start having middle, the destination gets forgotten.
That's right.
Everybody that, and that's where the pennies, the dollar, that's where that's getting made. It costs so much money to actually generate, at the media side, to actually generate a phone call that has intent, and it's really is what people are looking for. Yes, I'm looking for final expense insurance. My parents are getting older. I want to make sure I can bury them, and those type of things. It takes a lot of money to generate that. If you don't have to have that money to generate it, but you can still get a slice of the pie from it going to from A to Z, well, I mean, who doesn't want to be there? And that's no knock against networks or affiliates or nothing, because I want everyone to make their money. But my tagline for GSP Enterprises is purpose before transactions. And there's a reason for it, right? I'm a very purpose driven person. I need to have a purpose. I need to believe in a cause. I need to believe in a product for me to be able to sell it. Even if I could go sell the heck out of it, if I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't at all. That's just how I am. And so I think the 1-to-1 got everyone's ears perked up, but it also showed that even without government stipulation, we can still do that within the industry. And just, the buyers, the people buying the calls, set the terms.
Yes.
I'm not going to take this. No,
Yeah.
just not going to do it. Or the other people selling it in good faith, doing the right thing, are
Yes.
going to count out the guys who aren't. We
Yes.
both do this, but you're doing it bad. And here's the proof.
Yes.
That's how we regulate it, and we get it to
That's
where
right.
we want to go, in my opinion. And I think there's a lot of people who really, got a wake up call. I know some lead generation companies that
Yeah.
don't exist, some vendors that don't exist right now because they thought one of them was coming. It never even materialized, and they're not in the industry anymore. So
Would Which could be, well, yeah, I mean, which could be a good thing. Like you said, self-regulation we should be in a position
yes,
now where, especially brands, like you said, brands learned so much going through this process that they now can put some rules in place to where they feel that they need to understand how their brand is being represented and better understand the consumer experience. So I think we've all learned from it, and we will take self-regulation a lot more seriously. So
absolutely.
I agree with you there. I want to talk about too with you, my friend, about you talked about this already, but like, so going through the rest of 2025, where do you see your time with the three businesses? Like, is it equal between all of them, or what's kind of the future vision for you now? And running your own consulting business is tough because time is the most valuable asset we have, right? So like, how do you
Yes.
feel? And I love what did you say before about your tagline at GSP? Your
Purpose before transactions.
purpose for so tell me about that. Like what's your purpose for transactions now? Where are you focusing for 2025?
So I'm really trying to narrow down my core clients on the consulting side. Um, And I've diminished some of that in terms of my vendor relationships. I'm getting much better in terms of sponsorships for conferences. We just bought in a really big, for me, 6-figure sponsorship for the ACA Health Summit. And so I'm getting much better at those things. I'm kind of learning myself as I'm going through this journey. So I think it'll, as far as GSP enterprises and consulting, it'll be to keep my core vendor client relationships robust, as I'm building it, and I'm building a team too. You can't win without a team. And so keeping that there in terms of, um, Genoa marketing, the platform and what we have there, it's going to come, but I'm focusing on my key areas. Building my agency with Zakai Insurance is a big thing. So that's going to be there. And then putting my message out is a huge thing. So I have what's called a DocuCast, and I trademarked the name, by the way. And it's going to be a documentary. So it'll be an 8-part episode, like a Netflix documentary, but also a podcast. So part of it is going to show my journey through pay-per call. It's called In the Midst, the Life of a Pay-per call Consultant. And so it'll be a documentary of my journeys and conferences and trips and this, also mixed with an actual podcast where I'll have guests at. And so the trailer will come out soon. They're actually filming right now, so you're going to be part of this. Right here is going to be part of it somewhere. I won't say when, but it'll be part of it. Um, and so I want to be able to, one, show my journey. I'm a man of faith, so I also want to be able to tell people how I got it. There's a lot that we didn't get to in terms of my personal journey that I've had to overcome, and I just want to show people that you can. And you don't have to give up who you are, or any of those things. You can be who you are and be who you want to be. It really, this is America, and though there are issues in America, it's still the greatest country on the earth. You really can be here whatever you want to be. There's no one standing on a corner going to shoot you if you say something. So you just have to take the positives, leave the negative bags on the corner, and run with it as much as you can. So building the consultancy, and keeping those core clients and really cultivating that is one. On the marketing side, we'll have a lot to do with the within the mix, and my DocuCast, as well as the platform, and then my agency on the Sakai insurance side, and then way away from all that is a ton happening on the energy side. By the way, anyone want commercial solar or even residential, but commercial solar. We have PPAs, which is a power purchasing agreement. We can put solar into any business for free, sell them back the energy at a reduced cost, put them on a flat fixed rate for 25 years on an annuity. And if anybody feels like they want to make some money from that side, we should probably talk. It'll change some revenue streams in your life.
Look at that. Always be closing. Right there. I love it. ABC. True salesman at heart. No, I listen, I'm real excited for In the Mix. I'm excited that's awesome, man. I'm excited. Your journey has been awesome. It really is. And it's just I love that the beauty of I'd never say destination because journey you've been
You
on this
never get to a
amazing journey.
destination.
And
Yeah, you
so
never get to a
I
destination.
never get to it. And so it's awesome to see you. And I feel like the biggest thing for us guys that are really putting so much out there as consultants is we have to get out at shows, right? That's all of the work that you're doing with the ACA Summit. But it looks like recently too that you went to ICMG, and I know it's hard to determine ICMG or ASW. Everybody was determining which one to go to but obviously you gravitate more towards what's going on within the insurance community. But if you can talk to us about ICMG, I think you're part of now a networking committee there. So it's great to see you get involved with all these conferences, not just the 10, but you want to do more. And then what's your Q1's been busy for shows, but what's your scope look like for, going into LeadsCon and Medicarians? It's like there's a lot. What do you got on the future horizon here?
Absolutely. So ICMG is by far my favorite conference. Yeah, and I love ACA Summit, but the reason ICMG is my favorite is because I cut my teeth there while I was at Rank, and I learned so much about the energy, and I just learned so much. So it's my favorite conference, followed very closely by ACA Health Summit and Medicarians. Um, So Larry Siegel and his wife have always, his wife's like, I call her Mama Siegel all the time. But they've always taken care of me. Lee Mowry, who's on the board over there, Dan Mangus. I really just love those guys. In terms of picking between the two, I love ASW. My first conference was ASC at the Marriott in
Right.
New York.
Yep.
Um, uh, just a funny tidbit. My first conference was also Stan from Retriever, who he was running Retriever, but he's not there. We had our first conference together, and we were our first meeting ever at a conference in the industry where me and Stan together. And that's one of my guys. So big shout out to Stan. But I chose ICMG one because the people I needed to talk to and have those conversations with were going to be at ICMG. To be honest, there's so much outside the insurance verticals going on that ASW happening at the same time kind of pulled a lot of people who would have been at ICMG to ASW. And so it made it very, very intimate because you
Yes.
could just have, there wasn't, I don't want to use, it wasn't congested. It was decision makers on the insurance side and a lot of companies from platforms to IT to vendors on the other
Yeah.
side who can have real dialogue. And there was just a lot of the 5 or 6 people who you weren't going to do any business with not there because they were happening at the same time across the country. Last year, they happened at, you had LeadsCon and Medicare on the exact same
Same
days, but
time.
they were in the
Yeah.
same city in
Right.
Vegas, right? This time it was on opposite sides of the country. So ICMG is, I haven't missed one since I started going 6 years ago. I don't think I will miss one. God,
Yeah.
God blessing me to be there. I will
Yeah.
definitely be there. And in terms of going into the industry conference season going forward, I have a couple of smaller things going on until we get to the 21st of March. I'll be out in Salt Lake for the Compass Awards and some things happening then. And then right
Okay.
after that, we'll be in Vegas for the ACA Health Summit Medicarians. I'm tentative on LeadsCon too, but I also have some other things happening around the country and in Central America. Belize
Well,
is kind of a
yeah.
place I just got back from, and I have some stuff happening there, and I love that place. So
Yeah.
my schedule's tightening up, but I also have some relief because I have a team that I'm growing, and so a lot of things are getting taken off my plate that were
Yeah.
it used to be everything was on my plate. You know as well as I do in consulting, you know, just making an invoice and setting up sending out invites that takes a lot of time when you have a lot going on, and so
It
just those
does.
little things being up off my plate so that I can focus on what the vision is, right, and then the infrastructure, the nuts and bolts of the company starting to be handled by those who are capable, which is really freeing me up to be Jeff and go out and do what I do. Bodes well for what I have coming up this year, what my vision is in terms of my companies.
Well, Jeff, it's as one consultant to another. It's like I said, and I wish we could buy more time, man, because obviously that's
I
one
know
thing we
I would love
can't
to
do.
talk to you all day.
But you figure that out, let me know. I'll buy it with you. We can do a big acquisition together on
Yeah,
time.
we're gonna do something else together, my
We
man.
will
The
collab.
industry's gonna see us team up and they're gonna be
We will
like, oh,
collab.
what is
Yes.
this?
We will collab. I'm
100%.
excited. It's really cool to watch you, man. Like I said, just keep shining bright out there, man, because you are, it's really cool to see how you've evolved. And I just want to let you know, as someone who's witnessed that, it's really special, right? It's a beauty of performance marketing and beauty of like you appreciate what you've built. And I think it's really cool to witness that. I can't wait for the what'd you call it again?
It's called a
Docucast.
docucast, a
Yeah.
documentary and a podcast. And I did it that way because, well,
Yeah.
I come from the music world. Before I was in sales, I made music.
That's
And I
awesome.
always write, and so, oh, I didn't even talk about that. There's a song
Yeah,
coming out too.
that's a
I won't
separate
tell the
episode.
industry.
We got to talk about that another
That's a
time.
whole other thing too. Shout out to my guy Darren Black at the affiliate ball. I mean, there's some
Oh,
stuff going
Darren
on.
Black, the
Yeah,
man, the
there's
myth,
some
the
stuff going
legend.
on over there too. Um, but I made music and those type of things. So I've always been one to create in words. Words is my life, right? And so I was like, what can I do from a content place where I knew I wanted to do a podcast, but I didn't want to just I wanted it to be different. And I
Yeah.
was just sitting around thinking, and all of a sudden I was like, I should do a docu-cast, like a documentary and a
Awesome.
podcast. And the
I
more I
love it.
thought about it, I looked around and I didn't see that. I haven't seen it at all. And so I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. And so that's where docu-cast came from. I
Awesome,
can't wait.
man.
I wish I had
I'm
it right
excited
now
to
so I
see
can
it.
just show it to you.
Congratulations to you and the team. I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming on, my friend, and spending some time with us. And I look forward to. I may not see you then, unfortunately, because you may it's like so busy. It's hard maybe after Medicarians and the ACA summit. I'll be at LeadsCon, so we may cross planes going to Vegas.
Right.
But great to have you on, my friend. Thanks again.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Shout out to everybody in the industry who's championed me on and giving me some positive vibes. I really appreciate you all. I couldn't be here without motivation from everybody. So I really appreciate everybody. God bless.
Awesome, man. Thank you.